Okay, let's see. Let's go and look. Hi, I'm actually here this time. Sorry about that, everybody. I was, if you jumped on before, I was just rolling in, and man, oh, Shevitz. I just drove in from Los Angeles to Vegas right now, like moments ago, and then ran down here and set up my stuff, and yeah, just hooked up with the family and said hi and all that kind of stuff, and then came to join you folks. Thanks to everybody who jumped in and watched, and listened on Steph's show this morning when I visited. That was really fun, and it was nice to hear from you guys via Twitter and everywhere else afterwards. It's a good time. It's a good question. Is it me or is it Matrix Mate? We don't know. It's hard to say. You know what? One of the other questions I've wanted to know the answer to for a very long time. What the hell is Jeanine Pirro talking about? I think that's one of the great questions of our age in many ways. I think we're all seeking an answer to that question. I still haven't figured it out. She seems to, whatever it is she's trying to say, she says it very loudly and in short bursts. It's adorable. Thanks, Ziggy. I hope I'm funny every morning, whether I'm on or not. Now, perhaps we'll find out. But her big complaint today, apparently, according to our first video, and welcome, yeah, I'm diving right in, is Judge Jeanine slams the Biden administration. Are you stupid or crazy? I mean, these are two, let's be honest. If somebody, hold on, I have to move this over here. If somebody's going to ask the Biden administration if they're stupid or crazy, I would want it to be Jeanine Pirro, because these are two distinct categories she's quite familiar with. These are, I mean, if anybody knows stupid and crazy, and the and the varying degrees within each, it's our buddy Judge Jeanine. Looking well rested, a little thready in the throat, a little severe, but hey, nothing a little Vaseline lens filter won't fix, right? Nothing a little, one of those specialty cameras that makes y'all look all caramely. That's it, right? They have that. Thanks, everybody. Jeanine, yeah, we're gonna, yeah, this is fun. I mean, people are saying in the chat room, of course, that Judge Jeanine lies and spews falsehoods for a living. Yeah, she's on Fox. This is what we know. This. All right. So, Judge Jeanine, what are you, Biden administration? Are you stupid or crazy? Let's find out. I need to know.
Even went beyond that, urging.
Oh wait, hold on. Back up. You don't get to jump right in. Oh, now I feel judged. Don't you feel like she caught you in the middle of something? Jesus.
And now Blinken even went beyond that, urging all UN member states to join in this effort to confront the scourge of racism, racial discrimination, and xenophobia.
What a horrible notion. Why would the United Nations work to try and limit racism in the world? How, I mean, talk about being off topic.
Blinken added that the invitation to the UN Special Rapporteur on contemporary forms of racism and the UN Special Rapporteur on minority issues was a first step in a plan to issue a standing invitation to all UN experts who report on human rights issues in the United States. Now, let me see if I have this straight.
I'm gonna guess you don't, but it's gonna, let me see. We're asking the UN to tell us how racist we are. Okay.
You invite people from the UN who hate the United States.
Okay. Citation needed. I mean, I don't know what membership qualifications are required for the UN right now. Maybe it is hate the United States. Let's see. Hello, Yugoslavia. Welcome. That's good. Let's see. You ever bombed anyone for oil? Yes. Okay, good. That's good. Wonderful. Okay. Do you ever turn away boats full of migrants or perhaps trains, I suppose, in your place? Yes. Okay, that's a check or whatever. That's doing very well today. Thank you. Yes. One last question. Do you hate the United States? Oh, good. Well, that's yes. Okay. So you're in. I don't need the other ones. We don't even have to finish the questionnaire. This is wonderful.
To come here.
Well, no, not to come here. They're going to do it from a distance. They have a special racism microscope that they use, a satellite. It's basically like a racism Hubble that they'll just point at the United States.
On our soil to judge us without concern for their bias, their hatred, their prejudice, and their outright opposition and his hostility to a democracy?
Well, no. I mean, obviously, some of those are an ironic ask. I don't think we're going to get, like China, for example, or Russia. Like if they were to come over here and they're like, yeah, wow, racist place you got here. Like, yeah, you want to meet some Uyghurs? They live here freely. Yeah.
To judge us?
Well, no, not us. You. Just you, Janine. The whole UN is staring at you right now. I don't even know how you can walk around the streets of New York so they can see out the window. Every time you look at the UN, Janine, somebody with binoculars goes, "Oh shit, dude, she caught me."
Never in history has this ever happened.
Well, I mean, the UN's not been around that long, so a lot of firsts.
You invite China, that has 1 million Uyghurs in concentration camps, to judge.
Well, no, I don't. I think I don't know that necessarily we're going to take. We'll take what I get. This is the grain of salt list.
Judge us. Cuba, that's arresting journalists, beating and killing demonstrators who simply want food and liberty.
Excuse me, I need to check something, if I may. See, UN. Let's see if I can find this. UN Human Rights Chief calls on Cuba to release protesters and journalists. That was probably a long time ago, though. July 16, 2021. Oh, never mind. Okay. Venezuela? Absolutely. And Russia?
Liberty to judge us. Venezuela, who tortures her.
There's a... it's Venezuela, not Venezuela. That's a dude who used to be on Chico and the Man. Venezuela. He was a Puerto Rican comic. He played a lot of South American characters. He's a very funny guy.
Own citizens.
Venezuela was talented.
And Russia, run by a former KGB intel agent, where enemies of the government are poisoned or just disappear to judge us.
But I thought, but if that leader compliments you, you should take it as a compliment that he considers you a friend and an equal. I see.
Why?
Why?
What's in this for you?
What is in this for you, Blinken?
Who do you work for?
Yeah. The State Department.
You invite our enemies to visit the United States and investigate whether there are human rights issues stemming from the George Floyd murder?
Well, no, actually. None of those emissaries from none of those countries are invited specifically to investigate legal matters in the United States.
Compile information and, quote, report back to the world? Are you stupid or crazy?
Oh, gosh, that's always the tough question. You know what I mean? If I had a nickel for every time I was asked that question, I know you guys, stupid, crazy, stupid, crazy, go crazy. All right.
You ask people with dirty hands to judge the most freedom-loving nation in the world.
Well, yeah, I mean, depends on what they got their hands dirty doing, I suppose.
The country where people from those nations risk their lives to come here.
Right.
And you invite them to address America's systemic racism against Africans and people of African descent in the context of law enforcement? Doesn't your Department of Justice do that? Why are you looking to corrupt foreign governments to
why corrupt foreign governments?
judge if we're racist? Why don't you just write
why are you looking to corrupt foreign to judge us? Not why are you looking to corrupt foreign?
the report now? We all know what the narrative you want to cement is, and
we want some Russians going, man, look at all the racism here. This is terrible. How do you even allow this to happen to all the black people that you actually have in your country? Why can't you have racial peace like we have in my country, where we have nearly no non-white Russian with? Why can't you have a singular ethno-state like us and China and Cuba and largely Venezuela? Although mixture being what it is, probably, I don't know. I have to talk to that guy.
And what the report will ultimately say, it's the United Nations simply putting its imprimatur on your 1619 project.
It's not his. That's from the New York Times.
And by the way,
oh, thanks. by the way.
How are you going to compile this information?
Probably with a computer.
Under what authority do foreigners collect additional information? Will they be going into police departments around the country demanding statistics and information?
Yeah, but they're going to need a translator or something. 'Cause I don't know that the Minneapolis 3rd Precinct actually, nobody there speaks Chinese. I'm pretty sure. I mean, maybe a couple people.
Will they be doing interviews?
No, not with you.
Do police have the right to refuse to answer questions by...
Does everyone have to have a giant flag GIF floating behind them?
members of foreign countries?
Mm-hmm.
Under what authority do they even receive the information?
I think they all become sheriffs like Steven Seagal.
Who will review the information to
I will.
find out whether there is evidence to support their final report? And have you no confidence in the American system of justice? The one that after a jury trial of his peers convicted Derek Chauvin of murder? That's not enough for you? What about the federal government that's monitoring several police departments around the country?
What about that?
That's not enough for you?
Well, clearly not. I mean, what if the evil cops that are operating in those places are Russians who speak Chinese and they are closet commies?
Need
I think I got everybody.
communist China's input?
Sorry, socialist commies.
Communist Cuba's approval? You're like an idiotic, simplistic, naive, woke loser.
How like one is he? I mean, is it a style thing? Why don't you just call him that? I mean, you're using epithets. Why don't you just... You're a naive... Where's the like part come in? You know what? I like your jacket. It's kind of a naive, woke loser look.
You're not doing anything but creating division nationally and internationally. And speaking of Cuba...
Yeah, nothing creates division like bringing on the United Nations.
Why aren't you taking measures if you're so into protecting the rights of the downtrodden and making sure that no one suffers from bias? Why aren't you supporting the Cuban people 90 miles away from our shore?
So it's a NIMBY thing.
Why is your Homeland Secretary, Mayorkas, saying not only that Cuban refugees should not come here, but that if they do, they'll be returned?
Because that's the policy for illegal immigrants regardless. And, and we will have refugee and never mind.
Are you in favor of Cuba, a Marxist communist nation? So
that's probably why. He's basically like, stay in Cuba. We're sending all Americans there. We're gonna put not all the Americans, just the maggots. We're gonna put them all in Guantanamo.
Supported by another Marxist organization, Black Lives Matter.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you let people from the southern border in, but not the Cubans?
They don't.
Could it be the Cubans are Republicans and they will turn Florida a solid red, so you have to stop them?
Well, no. If all of them came to Florida, it wouldn't change the state hardly at all.
You invite a scandal-ridden organization,
like Fox News.
United Nations, with its
I'm sorry. I was mistaken.
own history of corruption, to come here and judge us? The United Nations that has over 100 resolutions condemning the state of Israel, the one democracy in the Middle East. The same United Nations...
Yeah, but that's the thing about democracies, is you can criticize them when they go wrong. That's kind of also what makes them important and good.
With its peacekeeping force that failed to stop the massacre of more than 8,000 men and boys by Bosnian forces. The same United Nations with its oil for food scandal or sex abuse scandals by UN
peacekeepers in Haiti fathered hundreds of babies, then abandoned the mothers. Which part are you upset about?
Peacekeepers in Haiti occurred. The UN, where millions of dollars in cash were funneled to aid North Korean leader Kim Jong-il. Everyone knows what the United Nations is.
It's a united group of nations.
And the U.S. is asking the United Nations, a cesspool of political bias, to come into the United States and investigate us on human rights. We look so ridiculous.
Wait. So, Janine, your entire monologue is just based off of this clip of her saying this already? So you just plagiarized all the shit we've just watched? That's what this is?
The eyes of the world right now.
And remember,
don't watch the rest of her interview because that's where I'm getting the rest of my opening monologue from.
it was the UN World Health Organization that lied to us about the COVID-19 pandemic.
Coronavirus cover-up underscores China's tight grip on WHO, United Nations. Who reported that, though? What news organization, how do they feel about vaccines and stuff like that as a group? I mean, as a general, how are we supposed to, all right.
Pandemic mimicking the CCP talking points. Mm-hmm. Now, you may think the end game here will be the UN labeling the United Station,
Yes, the United Station. That's what we're the United Station of gas.
United States as a
Station. What's the difference?
racist, oppressive nation. That certainly will happen, but it goes beyond identifying
Yeah, but when some people say it, it'll be funny.
the United States as a racist nation and cementing the Democrat narrative. They will recommend reparations. This week, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Michelle Bachelet, urged a wide range of reparations over racism and has urged countries to fully fund a wide range of reparation measures to address the legacies of slavery, colonial rule, and racial discrimination.
Is she returning that necklace, though? Because it looks culturally appropriated, I'm just saying.
Yes, it will go beyond identifying the United States as...
Wait a minute. They're going to recommend something? Hold the... recommendations? Eek.
a racist nation. The drumbeat has begun.
Ba-doom-ts. Oh, wait, hold on. Sorry. Sorry. Say that again, Judge Deneen.
The United States as a racist nation. The drumbeat has begun.
Okay, yeah, we watched the whole thing and I don't know what she's talking about still. I'm completely lost. I mean, I know we're supposed to, is this one of those like lead up pieces where we're all going to talk about Jade Helm later? Is that what this is? We're supposed to panic about the UN? Belgium. All right. Next up, some real stuff. I mean, let's do some real stuff. Come on. Bannon's War Room. Military intelligence, people. Proves stolen election in multiple states. This is military intelligence. One of the primary oxymorons, right? Was that the idea? Okay. Former Army captain, military intelligence. So, no clearance, but presidential trend map. Sounds scientific. Okay. This is Bannon's War Room. And military intelligence is going to prove to you people, once and for all, listen up. Come on now. It's proof.
Let's focus.
Wait a minute. Steve Bannon's lost weight.
Initially on Arizona and Georgia, because
yeah, let's start there.
These are the ones that are specifically in play, and then we'll go around the world. But tell our audience kind of what your statistical approach is.
So I'm a 30,000-foot data analyst. I'm going to go over the
Wow. Where do you buy pants?
entire county, the entire country, county by county, as we have.
Yeah, that's what you do. Just do. That's what you do when you're a 30,000-foot analyst. You go over the entire country, county by county.
Slides that show that. And I'm able to see, based on historical trends, some of these going back.
Historical trends, which none of them include a pandemic full of mail-in votes.
Over 120 years. Based.
Where none of them include a pandemic with mail-in voting.
On population growth based on party registration where that's available, and that's available in places like Arizona.
Yeah, and it's available in all states.
And able to quickly identify where the data is off, where the trends are off, where the trends have been reversed or interrupted against what registration numbers may say. And really identify locally for these audit groups where the biggest issues are and what.
Right, and where we can stop Democrats from voting.
What the best low-hanging fruit to chase is, so we have.
Yeah, the low-hanging fruit, clearly Democrats.
Fruitful audit. And in Arizona, people need to look back at history and understand about Arizona. It's one of the biggest Republican strongholds that there's been since World War II.
Well, yeah, that's because they they've done their best to limit voting the entire time, and now unfortunately having mail-in voting and having no excuse absentee voting allowed for a lot of the Democrats to vote there, and of course changing demographics, and of course not the same population as right after World War II. But please go on. 30,000 feet.
Won by the Democrat candidate 2 times in 1948 and 1996. But in 96, when Bob Dole managed to lose Arizona, he still carried Maricopa County.
Yeah, but that's...
Trump carried Maricopa County in 2016 with fewer
and when nobody knew who he was.
votes than Mitt Romney had in 2012. So to believe the number that's certified in Arizona, you'd have to believe that Donald Trump decided to gain a Republican record of 248,000 net new additional votes in 2020, just so he could turn around and lose this county for the first time in 72 years.
Well, no, you have to recognize that that mail-in and absentee voting, and the fact that people were feeling their vote was going to be denied, and the fact that the first time he won as an unknown entity, and the second time he won, we had 600,000 people. We were losing like 100,000 people every 6 weeks. That kind of tends to motivate people in a way that, and of course, 100 years ago, demographics.
So what we have on the Biden increase column, 338,000 vote increase over Hillary Clinton's increase, and over her total, just so they can win the state by 10,000 votes. So from a data perspective, that's what you see is they needed every single one of these votes, the stuff that the Cyber Ninjas talked about the other day, just to get over the top.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's in any swing state, either party needs all the votes that are there for their party.
So that is why people looking at Maricopa County without a knowledge of their history should understand why people are up in arms about these numbers.
Well, no, they're just pissed because they lost.
Do you look at, Seth, how the votes for president track with some of the down ballot stuff?
Absolutely. I think that if we really laid all the cards on the table, the entire country, I think you would see a pickup of at least 5 Senate seats for Republicans. You would have Perdue in Georgia. People aren't talking about Perdue, but on November the 3rd, he was pushed out of the 50% threshold by about 14,000 votes. So
Yeah, again, more people with more access to vote raises the numbers. The votes that have been suppressed are the Democratic votes for years. So when you finally lift that oppression, you're going to find that everybody who can vote does vote, and you're going to start losing these swing states in a way that reflects the shifting demographic. So you got an extra 100,000 people in an area, and that means you've got 40,000 of them that can vote, and then you've got half of those folks go one way, half go the other way, and one group leans a little more the one direction, and you do that over a series of counties. Yeah.
So he would have won on election night
if he hadn't lost. Sure, that's true. Yeah, can't argue that.
For the massive amount of fraud that occurred in Georgia.
No, the massive amount of fraud that occurred in Georgia, if it did occur, only benefited Trump and kept him within biting distance. He was losing horribly.
And then you have Jason Lewis in Minnesota. You have Mark Ronchetti in New Mexico. You have probably Martha McSally in Arizona, and absolutely John James in Michigan. Plus, the House would have flipped Republican as well. There's a couple governorships. Dan Forest.
Yes, if they hadn't lost, they would have won. I'm glad we're covering this.
Would have been the governor of North Carolina. That's a state that few are talking about, much like Texas, where the numbers are just tremendously off.
Every time you poll it, it starts moving Democratic, and then every time they have an election using the ES&S machines, it magically flips back. That's kind of strange, don't you think?
But because Trump still carried those states, it's stuff.
Yeah, he ignored it because I guess he bought enough votes in that state.
That's really ignored, which is why we have these offices everywhere.
By the way, just so you're not confused, that's not Texas. They're graphics guys behind.
Yeah, this is why I think the work David Clements is doing on going around to all 50 states and get audits done is going to be so important. We're going to be
very important. Get ready for some pushback from Republican senators who don't want you to look too closely at the numbers in Texas, Florida, Ohio, and Kentucky. Just
talking with him.
They're going to get a little nervous, a little bit of flop sweat.
Him soon. What's your
What information other than statistical trends that have stopped going your way do you have as evidence?
take on Georgia? Is it worse? What's of the 6 battleground states? What's the one that jumps out at you the most in terms of anomalies?
Yeah, what's the big one we're losing?
They're all pretty bad. Like
Yeah, probably, yeah.
you've said on the show many times, Wisconsin is the easiest one to prove, given that most of the point fraud occurred in 2 counties. Nevada's the
You mean where all the people are? All the black people?
same way since
Yeah, it's amazing how all the big fraud didn't happen in all the tiny little counties that went to Trump.
most of their votes come from Clark. But I would say the one that disgusts me the most is Pennsylvania.
Yeah, clearly.
And the reason why is because they have a very predictive indicator of the trajectory of their next election, which is party registration. The Democratic Party in the Midwest, in the industrial Midwest, the Rust Belt as we call it, is going extinct. Republicans had a net new voter registration advantage of 21-1 in the last 4 years, which perfectly indicated Trump's victory in 2016. and pointed to
21-1.
Yep,
21-1?
242,000 new Republicans registered, 12,000 Democrats.
Yeah, how many overall in the whole state, though? I don't care how many new people you bring in, just because people are shifting jobs and moving around or went back home during the pandemic and registered to vote. Tell me how many Democrats. Well, I mean, let's look it up. Let's see. Let me pull this over here. One of them may try to get a thing. Okay. Party registration. Pennsylvania. Let's see how many. Voter registration statistics. Voters by district. How's it up? PA voters statistic. Voter turnout presidential election 2016. Okay, that's just the voter. There I go. Let's see. I gotta find a. Let's see. Pennsylvania has pushed the kind of voter registration. Okay, here it is. McCall. There we go. This is 2020. Republicans continue to eat away at Democrats' voter registration advantage in Pennsylvania. So let's see. One gauge is here. Secondary map. Party affiliation. There you go. And by the way, I love when they do this as if these aren't the red ones aren't all the empty states. So here's 3,000 voters in this one. Here's 31,000. That's fairly good. Warren County. It's plus 22%. 55,000 people. What's in Allegheny? 937,000 people. Dems by 29%. How about this? 148,000 in Lackawanna. Dems by 26. Here's Philadelphia. 1.1 million. Dems by 64%. And then the outlying area, Dems by 3.1, Dem 0.6, Dems by 14%. And the number of people, 225,000, 247,000, Dems by 13%. And then we go back over here, 23,000, Republicans by 42%, which still means you've got 5,000 Dems adding to the number in this one. And you've got a bunch of 12% in here. I don't know what, I wouldn't call that a deep red if Republicans are at 64%, and then the rest of the place is by, is other, 12%. 14,000 people, 28,000 people. Here's a fairly big one. Blair County, 79,000. Still, Dems have 21,989 voters in that county. Republicans have 48,000. And other is almost 10,000, 9,840. These are some hard red numbers. And they only go that way, by the way, if you judge the Republican number against the Democratic number only. So that's good. And then this little guy, Fayette, Dems by 7. It's 81,000 people in that state, or in that county. All these light ones are, slight separation. And even still, like, there's a 3.8% between the Republicans and Democrats here, but the other is 6,613. There's 11% of the voters in that area. So they can, that's a swing county. That's a swing county. This is a swing county. This is a swing county. Lean red, and this one too, technically speaking. So let's see. Yeah, this is Democratic registration advantage. And this is the registrations. This isn't how they ended up voting, by the way. Just because of the registrations doesn't mean that even these Republican areas voted for Trump this time around. Whichmore grew since 2019. This is, and again, this is their growth, plus 4% in the growth, not in the overall. Still 64%. Which party grew more since 2016? Not quite as big a deal. Quit morning call. I'm not interested. Lady sleeping in a car, other stuff, weird little news stories, an apology from, what? So it doesn't, I don't see an overall number. This is by county, but, okay, so let me, this is bugging me. I want to find out the actual number. Let's see, Dem and Republican voters in Pennsylvania. Let's see. Voting election statistics. That was Department of State. Voter registration statistics archives. That's registration. Democrat or Republican. Let's see it here. That's the county. Majority of. Let's see. Overall. These are the counties. I don't want the count. Okay. Yeah. Here you go. Here's this, and that's 2004, and even though they've registered more by a percentage, they've done it in smaller counties. This is the kind of breakdown of the vote in 2004. But even in 2004, and this doesn't count the growing number of people in here, the Dems are ahead 3.6 million to 3.1 against the Republicans in the state. That's 2004. And you got a bunch of people in those, what are red counties, essentially, who are pretending they didn't vote Republican because of George Bush. I don't know, let's see, political geography, where each, 7 political systems, blah, blah, blah. Even in the areas where they're breaking it down in here, 2012 to 2016, here in these areas, Dems won by 250. This is the mid zone. There's a tie between 250 to 250. There are areas like Philadelphia where the Democrats won by 500,000 votes or more. The statewide margin was over here in the pink somewhere, but the Republicans just barely cleared 250 in any area. But tell me again about how it's pissing you off that you guys can register a bunch of people, but every time the Democrats come out and register just a few more, they still hang on to their voters.
So 60
in
counties
the state of Pennsylvania?
By the way, they're re-registering people when Trump came in that they had lost because of Bush.
Pennsylvania.
Is that in the state of...
Pennsylvania was not a nail-biter state. This was an easy 400,000 vote state. So that one makes me the sickest.
No, it wasn't. You can register that many people. Still doesn't take you over the top.
Georgia's pretty bad.
So let's stay on that.
Yeah, don't bring him back to it. It's going to get embarrassing.
Stay on that for a minute. When you do.
By the way, this is not a map of Pennsylvania, just in case.
Your county by county, what pops out at you there? Where was it all counties stole, or was it Philly County or what? Where?
Yeah, it's Philly County.
County. What's?
Wherever the black people are.
It was a 67 county operation. So you have an operation to shave Trump's totals in the rural counties and in the suburban counties.
No, you didn't. In the rural counties, they weren't curing ballots. The only people that actually sued in Pennsylvania about being disenfranchised as voters were Republicans who had their mail-in votes kicked out by Republicans who were trying to drive down the mail-in vote because they knew most of the people that mailed in were Democrats, most people who voted in person were Republicans. And if they could turn down as many of the mail-in votes as possible for any reason whatsoever, they could guarantee the county for Trump. And that's what they did. We looked at this so many frigging times. They were freaking out in all these Pennsylvania counties about the number of mail-in votes coming in. So all their election watchers, their only job was to kick mail-in votes to the curb.
Then in these Democrat Siberia counties where they have
Democrat Siberia counties, they're run by Republicans.
absolutely no support anymore. So instead of Trump having 80% margins, or 80 to 20 kind of wins, you have 65 to 35 kind of wins.
Yeah, because people were sick of him.
I did a show recently where I looked at Butler County, Westmoreland, Luzerne County, and by the way, Luzerne County has gone to the winner of Pennsylvania in every election since 1936, regardless of party.
So what you're telling me is that Donald Trump is a next-level fuck-up and can screw up a free lunch.
And then York County. And just in those 4 counties alone, I estimated that Trump's margins were cut by 62,000 votes in a state.
Yeah, it is completely understandable that in 3 counties there are 62,000 people who went, fuck this guy.
Where he supposedly lost it by 80,000 votes. So it was a 67-county operation. He still managed to trend a few counties out in the West more Republican, but only 20 counties overall were more.
Yeah, because of mail-in voting. Because they couldn't get rid of all of it.
More Republican than they were in 2016.
And a bunch of demoralized Republicans didn't feel like voting because people were dying all around them.
Despite 60 of them becoming more Republican in registration, which was...
No, people coming back home who voted in 2004 and 2000 or voted as independents for Trump or called them or told pollsters they were Obama voters when they fucking weren't.
Perfectly predictive in 2016.
No, it isn't.
That he would flip the state.
Could you account for this simply
I can. I just did.
through a higher voter turnout?
That is the excuse. So
That's the reason, Mr. 30,000-foot view.
every statistical indicator that's been good for decades, if not more than a century.
Yeah, none of them included a pandemic where no excuse mail-in voting was made available to every voter.
Is being...
And where the county officials in all these red counties could guarantee they could knock down Democratic votes, not by denying machines in Democratic areas, but simply by throwing out as many mail-in votes as they could, because Trump had told all of his people to not only vote by mail, but also to show up on the day, so no matter what, their vote counted.
Being explained away as high voter turnout, which shows that the coronavirus pandemic was exaggerated to allow for relaxing the integrity of the voting laws.
The integrity of the voting. You mean allowing all the registered voters who'd been on the rolls for years to vote by mail?
Pretending absentee ballot.
Yeah. If you'll note, hey, asshole, can I, if I may, Jesus Christ, if you're going to make the case that a bunch of, like, the Dems used COVID to cheat in the election by having a bunch of brand new voters appear out of fucking nowhere to vote in this election to give the state to Joe Biden, then you can't make the case that Dems have a lower new registration number, and that's the reason you think you should have kicked ass. If the case you're making was true and a bunch of bullshit votes showed up, the registrations, because they've done recounts, they check the rolls, even these red counties, it's not like they don't fucking look. They would have registered a bunch of brand new Democrats, shit tons of them. It would be more suspicious if the registration numbers he was touting a moment ago were reversed. You would have more of a case for fraud if there were 225,000 brand new Democrats registered and only 21,000 Republicans. And you go, how the fuck did that happen? Trump was so popular. You could coax yourself into that fantasy, but at least you'd be able to make the case that these 225,000 new Democrats were fake or bullshit or made up or exaggerated or, or were screwing with the system. But you can't. Because you just made the case that Republicans kicked everyone's ass in new registrations, whereas the people that voted in this election in Pennsylvania are the same fuckers that voted in the last one, and the one before that, and the one before that, and the only new people there were 21,000 spread all over the goddamn state, and by no means enough to change the margin. Do your own fucking math, Mr. 30,000 feet.
Ballots. But
How, honest to God, I can't be the only one that spotted that ridiculousness. How do you shit the bed in your own argument that quick?
you'd also in Pennsylvania need to believe that when Barack Obama, after 8 years of a Republican administration that finished very poorly, with all the wins back, all the unions supporting him, record minority turnout, soft Republicans, that Trump is not only going to go blow by Obama's total in a state with a declining population, but also Joe Biden is going to go blowing past Trump's total in a state where the Democratic Party is massive.
Got news for you. All the there were Obama voters that voted for Trump. Those guys came back. So that's a minus for Trump and a plus for Biden. There were people who, everybody who liked Biden voted, or Obama voted for Biden. And then there were a bunch of people who might be soft on the edges, didn't like Obama, thought the, Jeremiah Wright shit or a bunch of Marxist nonsense, or he was a community organizer, which means commie. All those folks don't have that fear about Joe Biden, so they fucking voted. And also, they got to vote from home. That's your statistic. That explains every extra vote in the goddamn state. And there were none. They were just the regular registered Democrats.
Massively being walloped, and they're actually still being walloped to this day.
No, they're not. New registrations aren't brand new magic people. They didn't all turn. You didn't get everybody who turned 18 who's suddenly a conservative. You got a bunch of people who hated Romney or got pissed off and or were Bush voters who were embarrassed. That's what all these assholes in these counties in Pennsylvania who call themselves other, that's what you're talking to. When they have a good candidate, when Trump comes up and they're like, yeah, I'll vote for this guy, so all of a sudden they register as Republicans. But this time around, they were registered, and then they just went, fuck this, I'm not voting for him again.
Where are you taking this analysis next?
Up his poop chute.
It's going all over the audits, the audit channels, the America First audits. We have a ton of traction. People in all these states that nobody.
Yeah. There's the asshole statistic in all these states. There's a good 9% of people who, flat earthers and no-vaxxers and Robert Kennedy Kool-Aid drinkers. They're all like, yeah, I totally. Dude, don't tell me the first part of your argument. I'd rather believe it.
Nobody's talking about places like Washington State, Oregon, places that we've kind of written off as so-called blue states, where there's.
Yeah, go out there and argue that, look at all these red counties. I mean, there's nobody in them, but still.
Tremendous.
Land is more important than voters. We're the Republican Party.
Anomalies. So Trump up 363,000 votes in Washington State.
This is by the way, look at this fucking voter fraud. This is U.S. voter fraud map. Clean. This is green, like in areas where no one lives. Clean, likely yellow, rampant. Fucking Alaska. What's up in Alaska? Obviously, California. It's all Mexicans, clearly. It has nothing to do with the fact that Los Angeles and San Francisco and Sacramento and all these states are like enormously, huge population centers. Nah, man. Upland's the problem. Down here, out chunks of Arizona and New Mexico.
State. When the Republicans couldn't budge for 3 straight elections. So there's massive traction, new Big Tent type voters, but of course,
Seth, do me
there are none of those things. Seth is talking out of his ass, and it's adorable.
favor. I wanted to.
Yeah, do us a favor. Go back to that part where the Democrats only registered 21,000 new voters, and the Republicans registered 225,000 new voters. And the people that voted in, the Democrats that voted in Pennsylvania have voted through multiple elections and continue to do so. And yet there were magic votes from nowhere for Democrats, even though they would have come from people who vote every election.
Hang on, we're going to take a break now.
That's amazing. I have to say, I gotta admit, occasionally when these come up, I'm like, one of these days, somebody's going to pop an accusation or a piece of data that I just, I'm not ready for, right? In theory. There's got to be something, right? Where I'm just like, oh, shit, that's an interesting. I didn't realize I have no way of verifying whether or not there's panda shit in these ballots. But there's, and when this one goes, like from the title, military intelligence proves. This guy's using statistical averaging and a completely fucked up math concept that inverts his actual argument on Pennsylvania, and then says, "Oh, multiple states. Why multiple states? Oh, because Washington State and Oregon can't possibly be blue." I mean, there's an argument to be made that more than half the violence on the streets of Portland is right-wing violence. I'm sure he's taken a good look at that, but I'm just saying, in Seattle, you're going to have a real hard time convincing me in the big population centers in Washington State that, but the rest of the state is, is Republican. There's like 15 people in the counties and some dude in a fucking log cabin in the middle of nowhere with a crawl space full of dead bodies. But I mean, I'm sure he's a staunch Republican. You know what I mean? Like, that's what Common Core math does for you. Texas can handle every Republican in the U.S. and send them there, or maybe. Oregon has 2 area codes, one for Portland, one for the rest of the state. Yeah. Military intelligence is going to waste time trying to overturn an election and get charged with treason. Yeah, titles they do kind of matter. Former military intelligence surveyor. I mean, the guy wasn't a consultant. There's a big difference in military intelligence with the consultants and the actual number crunchers and the guys who are actually data collectors on the phones. You know what I mean? There's a need to know basis, and if you're not at the level where you need to know, you're not really making the kind of the higher decisions. And if you're passed over repeatedly because you're kind of an asshole and all your assumptions are bad and you keep kind of pushing stupid ideas, and then they ditch you, and then you end up on Steve Bannon's War Room bitching about how Oregon's really a red state. Fucking hell. Anyways, I find that fascinating. I suppose there's got to be a way where in some of these areas, they have a better case to be made, and it might leave me with a head scratcher, and I have to go look some shit up. But so far, I haven't seen it. I mean, honest to God, each time Mike Lindell puts out one of his new movies, I'm like, oh, maybe he's got a little more shit this time. Maybe this one will be maybe the math gets harder the more of these put out, and it's easier. It gets dumber. God damn, it's annoying. I'm amazed. I'm frigging amazed. Okay, so speaking of frigging amazed, brace yourself. Brace yourself! Oh, God. If there are 2 more upsetting faces to see on television, I don't know who they are. Mark Levin is on Mario Bartiromo's show. Levin put this clip up. Levin, Joe Biden is destroying this country, Mr. Producer. Joe Biden is destroying this country. I did not realize that he's reporting live from China, but we'll see. This is on Mornings with Maria. How do you have a morning like Maria? I feel like I should do this whole thing with just kind of like I got an injection. You know what I mean? Like. Yeah. All right, here we go. I got to see what this is. Biden's progressive policies and the path forward. There is no path forward. Did you not see the last section, Mark Levin? It's game over. The country is dead. Inflation, gas prices. The American experiment is over. Can't you tell? I'm kidding, it's not. I got you. But admit it, when I said that, you chubbed a little, didn't you? Come on. You did. It's okay. Here we go.
Oh, yes, that was then
oh, God.
Candidate Joe Biden in February of 2020 revealing his intention to become the most progressive president in U.S. history.
Okay, we don't get to see the clip? Okay, we'll just assume that's what he said. I intend to be the most progressive candidate in history.
He is well on his way, ruling.
Well, good for him. It was probably during the Sanders debate, right? Or no, maybe it was after the Sanders debate when he won the nomination and he said, I beat the socialists. Was it that one?
By executive order, majorities in both chambers ramming through the most radical and expensive agenda this country has ever seen.
Well, not the most expensive, obviously. The highway bill initially, I mean, dollar for dollar.
All without a single Republican vote.
That's weird because Republican voters are actually quite supportive of it. Weird. Why would you have 60% of Republican voters in the country support a lot of this shit and not a single Republican vote? Why would that be? I mean, I'm not here to judge Maria Botox Romo, but it sounds a lot like swampy Washington bullshit to me.
That's called unity.
Unity. Mark Levin, author of American Marxism. I guess if you want to learn how to be a Marxist, Mark Levin's your guy.
Levin's new book, American Marxism, examines how we can protect our democracy from this kind of government overreach. He is also
by becoming Marxists.
The host of Life, Liberty, and Levin, which airs on Fox News on Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Let's wind him up and watch him go. He doesn't at all look like a camera test for a character that Richard Dreyfuss turned down.
We're all viewers. Mark, it's good to see you.
No, we're not. We have 702 rumbles on this, kiddo. No, we're not. This is his channel.
Thanks very much for being here this morning.
Well, he didn't have anything else to do.
Your reaction to the agenda as you see it?
My reaction to the agenda is that Joe Biden and his merry group of proletariat supporters there.
They are very cheery, considering, how Marxist they are. I always thought of Marxists as grim folk.
In the White House are destroying this country.
Oh, that's hence the title.
If I'm Communist China
and you probably are. I mean, you've got the landmass.
Communist North Korea and
You're both?
Communist Cuba and I'm
Cuba. Is that a video game from the 80s?
Communist
Cuba? No, that's Cubert. Sorry.
Venezuela.
And communist Venezuela. If you're all of those things.
If I'm the regime in Iran and so forth, all of our enemies,
Well, they're not communists. That's a whole different thing. That's a religious, that's completely, you're kind of spoiling your premise. But continue.
Sitting back and I'm laughing because Joe Biden is destroying this country from within and I don't have to raise a finger. He is a human pandemic. He's done more damage to this country in 6 months than Communist China could ever do to us. And he is a grave...
Well, then obviously China is not and has never been any kind of a threat. Because if this is the damage that they wish for...
Threat, and his administration is a grave threat. They're a threat.
Okay, Mark, on your premise, can you at least leap to what the damage is?
To our civil liberties and free speech.
Wait a minute, because you can't be on Twitter?
They're a threat to our economic system.
Because... What? Because you think Medicare for all... Oh, I don't understand. Which part? Oh, because the stock market's doing pretty well. Oh, bond yields.
They're a threat to our sovereignty.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, obviously, we're opening the borders and we're letting everyone in. Wait, shit, that'd still be those people coming in and becoming citizens, and they would become Americans, therefore diminishing the hardworking, life-affirming, hope-seeking humans from another country and bringing them here to seek their fortune and build their lives and do good. And those people, obviously, if they're from Venezuela, like you said, they're escaping communism, so therefore they're not going to come here and jumpstart it, obviously.
Open border. This man hasn't even traveled to the southern border to see what his policies are doing because he doesn't give a damn. He knows what they're doing.
Yeah, he's telling them, don't come in, you can't come in, and they're not coming in. I'm sorry, there's probably a stampede. I missed it. Do you guys have video of people stampeding across the border?
This push for critical race theory and...
He's not pushing for critical race theory. You're pushing for critical race theory. By the way, I have been doing some of my, as I'm wont to do, my own little background research on stuff so that I'm not talking out of my ass, unlike Mark Levin. And I've come to the determination that critical race theory at its root is a codification of white supremacy. It is one of the most white supremacist, subversive plans I have ever seen in my life. Everything about it, supports the substructure of white supremacy as it stands and asserts its power now and forever. And it literally ends in a pitiful die out at the end, like, there's nothing we could do about it. It's kind of amazing. And CRT doesn't exist. It's fucking ridiculous. It's, it's like in a philosophy department at a couple of colleges. What he's worried about is diversity training. Like, he literally thinks, you might want to be nice to the black people in the office instead of saying stupid shit. Like, that to him is critical race theory.
And this lat crit and all the other things I talk about in America.
Lat crit? Latino critical something? I don't know the street language, Mark.
American Marxism. I heard Lindsey Graham said, I've known Joe Biden a long time. This is a different Joe Biden. Maybe you should talk to Clarence Thomas and some of the other people who were abused and very badly mistreated when he was on the Senate Judiciary Committee.
Wait a minute. If he'd have treated him badly, he never would have made it.
How he lied about them, how he smeared them. Maybe we ought to look at this
he's on the fucking Supreme Court.
Man's career. It's a career of lying and plagiarism and a political chameleon. He was never a moderate. He would do whatever he had to do to draw attention to himself. And
we're talking about Trump now, right?
Now he's in legacy mode. How can he be met with these liberals?
Well, that's good though, isn't it? What if you want? How does he want his legacy to be? I'm the guy that destroyed America. Again, you were so close to actually having a cogent argument. I mean, it's stupid, but at least it would have existed as an actual argument. And then you fucked the whole thing up with the legacy mode comment.
These liberal historians, he wants to be bigger than FDR. He wants to be...
Well, he can't be bigger than FDR if the country disappears, dumb shit.
Bigger than... How about you pay attention to what's going on in this country, Joe?
Yeah, Joe. You're watching his show right now. Joe Biden, you clearly get up and watch Maria Bartiromo's show, especially when Mark Levin is a guest. Talk to him. Tell him, Mark. Audience of one. Let's do it, buddy.
How about you pay attention to what your policies are doing to this country?
Well, he would if they, once they're implemented. I mean, literally, the child tax credit started like Wednesday. You might want to get him kind of up and rolling. I mean, we're still dealing with the death toll from last year, and all the new deaths are Trump assholes who, even though they believe Trump created the vaccine in his fucking garage, won't take it.
Inflation that's shooting through the roof. And as I was watching your show earlier, Maria, $3.5 trillion in human infrastructure.
Yes.
Human infrastructure. We call that socialism.
Okay, hold on one second. Let me look up the... I think human resources is one of the things, but, we'll work on this. Okay, so let's look up human infrastructure. That's the nickname they gave it in the bill. Let's just grab U.S. News. See, here you go. Biden sells human infrastructure plan despite it's obviously a Soylent Green thing. It's socialist green as people. President is pushing his human infrastructure proposal, even his bipartisan package addressing traditional needs like roads and bridges, faces obstacles in Congress. It's always going to face obstacles. It's still going to get passed. The infrastructure package negotiated by a bipartisan team of lawmakers. By the way, this is the human infrastructure argument is all about a values argument for 2022 and 2024. Just so you know. Today, the American people can be proud. We've shown ourselves that American democracy can come through. He said of the $1.2 trillion plan to deal with roads, bridges, broadband, lead-free pipes, all that stuff. But the human infrastructure is intertwined with our physical infrastructure, Biden added. Where he toured the municipal transit utility and touted his spending package. The president said he will keep making the case for the two plans until his job is done, until our human infrastructure needs are met. However, the job is far from done, even for the... Okay, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Nothing presents Democrats a winning package of labor environment, okay? But the deal is something in peril. We already saw that. Biden on Sunday walked back the implied threat that they're going to do so. Biden wondered why programs such as child tax credit, refundable tax credit for low-income parents was not considered as important as tax-cutting Republicans. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Why is there not a tax break for working folks? I mean, it sounds like socialism. For the super wealthy, called tax breaks. Now, those of you that make over $400,000, I love you, but I don't mind a little bit if your taxes go up a little bit. If we raise the corporate tax to 28%, you know how much money that raises? $1.4 trillion. He then added that 30 Fortune 500 companies paid zero in taxes and made billions of dollars. I'm not trying to punish anybody. I'm saying let's be fair. Sounds like commie stuff to me. Oh my God. Let's see. They have the actual. Let's see. What's the content of the package that they have? Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Senate Democrats reach $3.5 trillion deal for Biden's human infrastructure agenda, Medicare expansion. Okay, so Senate Democrats reached an agreement Tuesday on a $3.5 trillion budget plan, overall budget, everything, which, so it includes this extra stuff. It doesn't cost $3.5 trillion. That would expand Medicare, fund climate change initiatives, and fulfill other parts of Joe Biden's economic agenda. The Democrats hope to pass on top of a bipartisan infrastructure bill. After a lengthy meeting with Democrats, Schumer said they were willing to spend $600 billion in new spending. Biden has proposed a bipartisan infrastructure plan. The amount of the new spending comes to around $4.1 trillion, close to Biden's full infrastructure and family agendas. Every major program that Biden asked for is funded in a robust way, Schumer said. Human infrastructure proposals include expanded caregiving for the disabled and elderly, universal pre-kindergarten, subsidized child care, free community college, national paid family leave, and extended child tax credits. There's also an assortment of environmental initiatives led by a new clean energy standard forcing power companies to gradually shift from emitting carbon dioxide and incentives for clean energy such as wind and power. I think he means the wind and solar. It's an understandable mistake. Schumer said Democrats also added a plan to expand Medicare, long a battle cry for progressives, including coverage for dental, vision, and hearing. Biden met with Senate Democrats at the Capitol Wednesday to discuss the agreement. I think we're going to get a lot done, he told reporters when he left the building. The White House press secretary Jen Psaki suggested there are not yet enough votes to pass the package. If there were enough votes for each of these priorities, there would be a vote and it would have happened. Biden will continue to reach out to Democrats and Republicans to help sell the package. By the way, this is the negotiating point. And again, asking for the 3.5 is how you get out of here. I'm not printing anything. Asking for the 3.5 is how you get what you ultimately want, which might be lower, but at least you're swinging for the fences, which is everybody's complaint from when they were in the Obama administration, and a lesson that Biden took from that and learned on. So there you go. And by the way, universal pre-K, children's lunches, caregiving for elders, that kind of stuff, all subsidizing it, by the way, for low-income people. All of it releasing people from burdensome activities that will stop them from starting a business, would allow them to, work more and more productively. All that stuff that actually adds to the economy, if that burden is taken away, is actually an investment in helping them. The 2 years of universal community college, for example, optional for one, and secondly, it helps grow the vocational folks, which the red states rely on. This is, understand that the 2 years of free community college, because they put it that way, is also 2 years of vocational training. And then there's all these extended vocational training things that the government picks up in other programs. So you can do as much as 4 years and never pay a goddamn dime. And that helps people who end up working on oil rigs, working on solar farms, working on planes, all that shit. That's who it helps. That's one of the sales points. Remember when I was talking about you leaving broadband and the broadband thing, by the way, all got in the bipartisan bill. Everybody's for it. Absolutely helped sell it. And that's what I told them to do. Same thing about 2 years of community college. You guys need to start saying 2 years of community college or vocational training. Because it's the same thing in terms of the cost of it, but people will see, people who are going to college use the 2 years of community college as the base to get them to eliminate credits and lower the cost of ultimately going to college or university. And the people who are, going into a trade, like being a trucker or something, they'll use the vocational group. And you need to talk to both groups. But that it's available. It's the same goddamn thing. So tell them both. Tell both groups. And, sorry, I have to... why do I always get these? I mean, I guess I should be flattered that there are all these people trying to sell psychic healers on my Facebook page. All right, here we go.
And then 1.2 trillion in hard infrastructure.
Don't say that too loud. It'll upset Maria.
And they have a $6 trillion proposed budget. In the next 30 days, they want to spend $10.7 trillion on top of the $2 trillion they already spent and the $2.3 trillion before that.
No, because there's already an existing budget. The 6.5 is part of the 10-year budgetary plan. It doesn't add anything. The other shit is the stuff that they want to add. It's the rolling budget that's there already, including all the military shit that Trump already wanted and signed up for.
They're going to destroy this economic system for our...
We have a $26 trillion economy every year. Imagine if your house and your car and all your medical needs and an entire, like, you could redo your driveway, which was 10,000 miles long, whatever, and all of that was half of your yearly salary. You could do all that for half of your yearly intake. And you can spread it out over a decade.
For our kids and our grandkids, they're destroying our classrooms with these damn executive orders and the NEA and the AFT. They're just...
The executive orders on the NEA... Oh. How are they destroying classes? That everybody gets pencils?
Destroying the border. We know why they're doing it. They're in...
Well, we didn't destroy the border. Trump's wall destroyed the border. Because a lot of the Trumpy guys in the CPB, CBP, the Customs and Border Patrol, those guys all think that since there's a wall there, fuck it. So that, the people that slip through are because they're just, well, the wall should work, right? Walls and wheels, right?
Importing what they hope will be Democrats while they're excluding the Cubans because they think they'll be Republicans.
No, they just don't want them to drown.
In the meantime, what else do they want to do, Maria?
What do they want to do, Maria?
They're attacking our constitutional system in the Senate, the courts, the filibuster rule, and the Senate itself.
Filibuster's not in the Constitution. Mark, fuck are you talking about? Oh, that was quick. They went to commercial and they came back. They both went, have I been talking out of my ass? Let me read something real quick. I think everything I said in that last segment was bullshit. I'm pretty sure. Oh, yeah, it is. Damn.
A couple of examples of all that you've just said happened just this week.
Yeah, thanks, Maria. At least you bring the facts. Let's hear it.
Biden agreed to lift all sanctions on Iran, okay, as Iranians tried to kidnap a journalist in New York. That no comment on.
1 minute. Let's see. Biden sanctions Iran. I mean, I understand Maria's dumb. I mean, are you getting Biden administration eyeing what's this little phrase, Maria? New sanctions on Iran oil sales if nuclear talks fail. Biden administration is reportedly considering slapping new sanctions on Iran's oil sales to China if talks to revive the Iran nuclear deal fail. Money the U.S. is looking into placing stricter sanctions on the oil sales to China, which because they already have them and they're not getting run to the ones that they want, but they're adding them. Fuck, man. Maria, can you at least make it a little more difficult for me? Here you go, Wall Street Journal. This one's owned by Rupert Murdoch, so he can't be lying. U.S. waives new sanctions on Iran's oil sales to China if nuclear talks fail. How about, but this happened this week. They're just going to forgive the sanctions, is what she said. This is what she's saying. U.S. lifts some Iran sanctions amid stalled nuclear talks. That's probably what she's talking about. I mean, she said all, but some, all. I mean, she's a postmodernist. Words don't have any meaning. Up is down, left is right, whatever. Let's see. The Biden administration lifted sanctions on 3 former Iranian officials and several energy companies amid stalled nuclear negotiations, signaling Washington's willingness to further ease economic pressure on Iran if the country changes course. U.S. Treasury Department on Thursday repealed sanctions on former senior national Iran oil company officials and several companies involved in shipping and trading petrochemical products. The administration described the moves as routine administrative actions, saying the officials were removed from the U.S. blacklist because they no longer held positions in the sanctioned entities. Son of a bitch. Look at that, Maria. I was so with you. You were this close, Maria. The Biden administration was dropping sanctions on Iranian oil executives. There's obviously, because Hunter Biden probably has a deal in Iran and stuff, and then it turns out, no, they dropped him because these fuckers don't work there anymore. But officials familiar with talks underway in Vienna on the future of the 2015 multilateral Iran nuclear agreement said Biden administration has been looking at how it could inject momentum into negotiations. Oil prices tumbled nearly 2% after the news, but quickly regained their losses, continuing to trade over $70 a barrel. These actions demonstrate our commitment to lifting sanctions in the event of a change in status or behavior by sanctioned persons, Secretary of State Antony Blinken said in a statement accompanying the notice of the action. Oh, Maria. I expect this kind of moronic, simple-minded goofiness from Mark, Mr. Producer, Levin. But aren't you on Fox Business? Let's see. Let me find out. Here you go. The NBC News, Biden administration. Here you go. This is probably what she's talking about. This is April. Biden administration eyes major rollback in Iran sanctions to revive nuke deal. Any concessions beyond nuclear-specific sanctions would likely be seized upon by Republican critics and the Biden administration is considering. There you go. This is according to the NBC News. Now, this is from April. This isn't in the last week. In the last week, you saw what I just showed you, which is nowhere near this, but this is what was being presented by the AP in April. The Biden administration is considering a near wholesale rollback of some of the most stringent Trump-era sanctions. That's kind of a lot, right? Wholesale rollback of some of the most stringent Trump-era sanctions imposed on Iran in a bid to get the Islamic... talk about a bifurcation. Check that shit out, guys. Is that nuts? That is an amazing sentence, Associated Press. What are you doing? Considering a near wholesale rollback of some of the most stringent Trump-era sanctions. I guess there are other Trump-era sanctions that aren't stringent or are less stringent that are going to stay with the sum of the wholesale rollback. Fucking hell. I thought this was going to, honest to God, I thought I'd walked into an accidental trap where I like, oh shit, look at that. She was right about this somehow. Nope. Of course, they're talking out of their ass because American officials have refused to discuss which sanctions are being considered for removal. But they've said they are open to lifting any sanctions that are inconsistent with the nuclear deal or that deny Iran the relief it would be entitled to should it return to the compliance of the accord, which is the stuff in the original one, which you could just go fucking read the original one and you would know which one they're talking about, but that's too much work, AP, I guess. The Biden administration is considering a near wholesale rollback of some of the most stringent Trump-era sanctions imposed by, fucking hell, this is like the domestic terrorism thing where they're like, white supremacists are the biggest domestic terror threat of the racist elitist groups in subcategory subsection D.
On that, they eased sanctions on Venezuela. Look at that.
Wow. Hold on. Let's see. U.S. eases Venezuela. This is going to be terrible. Venezuela. Whoops. I can spell. Sanctions. What kind of evil? Probably like they lifted the sanction on the deportation of pinkos. Now this is obviously something that's going to be, when I look this up, I don't think I have to tell anybody that this is more than likely going to be the kind of stuff where it's just so that Hunter Biden and his buddies can make money. U.S. eases crippling Venezuela sanction. The rest of the crippling Venezuelan sanctions still in place. But this particular crippling Venezuelan sanction... I'm sorry, Maria, real quick. I know I hate to back up on Rumble because it's a pain in the ass. But what was that again?
They eased sanctions on Venezuela.
They eased... You're close. They eased sanction on Venezuela. Allows propane deals. Let's see. Caracas, Venezuela. God damn, I wish this was harder. Maria, please, you bring your A game next time. Kicking your ass over here. Caracas, Venezuela. U.S. government on Monday moved to ease. Moved to ease. All right. Not quite easing, but a crippling sanction imposed by the Trump administration, so not one that we'd had on besides, like, even the time, on Venezuela by allowing companies to export propane to the troubled South American country. Oh. So we're not allowing Venezuela to export propane for their own money-making. We're allowing other countries to export propane to Venezuela. A step that could mitigate a shortage that has pushed people to cook on charcoal or wood grills. The Biden administration's policy decision of wide impact in Venezuela comes as the socialist government of President Nicolas Maduro has begun to allow foreign aid into the country and has taken other steps to signal it is willing to engage with Washington. So they're engaged in the back and forth about this, and it's to help the fucking people so they don't starve to death, and they're not cooking in a way that creates more greenhouse gases and ends up being a climate pandemic caused by this. Fucking hell. Sanction. Sanction. I got so much to give you. A sanction. I'm just trying to live.
Well, look at that economy. We've got video of the Taliban executing Afghan soldiers.
We have video of the Taliban executing Afghan soldiers. So we should have stayed. Maria Bartiromo, Mark Levin, we need to stay in Afghanistan. Okay.
Fought for us in the U.S. and we abandoned them, and yet...
No. We're not... They're not coming with us. We're taking the translators out. The soldiers stay there. They are in a fight for their country. Why is this asshole smiling at the death of Afghan soldiers? Oh, that's why.
Mayorkas is saying to Cubans, don't come here. What's the motivation for all of this?
Yeah, I mean, take all those things together, including the stuff she just fucking patently made up, shove them into a ball, Mark Levin, and give us Biden wants to destroy America.
First of all, Joe Biden is worse than Neville Chamberlain. You know,
Yeah, last year, Trump's like, the Chinese are being great. This is so good. They're being so transparent. We sold them a bunch of beef and corn. Just go ahead and kill 600,000 Americans. I want this deal to go down on my record as the greatest trade deal ever. They're being very transparent. They told us everything we need to know. I feel differently about the trade deal now. Trump was Chamberlain if Chamberlain had given Hitler weekly hand jobs.
You know, Neville Chamberlain said peace in our time. Joe Biden...
Did he?
...is actually funding our enemy. I mean...
Funding our enemy. Oh, because people can bring food into the... No, they would be spending that money, not making that money. Oh.
I mean, you have to say that Neville Chamberlain didn't give billions of dollars to the Third Reich, and yet Joe...
Well, they weren't holding billions of dollars, let's say, after World War I, before World War II. The British did not have a bunch of German national money, Deutschmarks, locked up in a vault, and their agreements with all the other countries in the area, like the European Union, you know, that existed at the time, had dictated that if they keep somebody's money and they don't have a reason for doing it, that they have to pay interest on it, so they would eventually get... Never mind.
Joe Biden is giving and wants to give tens of billions of dollars to the Iranian regime, which...
Why? They got all their money. We're not giving them any money anymore. Like, that's done. That was money being held. It's done. It's spent. It's fucking gone. I don't understand. By the way, I know they want to live that point. Like, you know, he could go, Biden and Obama gave the... You can make that case and bitch about it, even though it's misguided and dumb. But where is this? Where are we going to give the Iranians tens of billions of dollars?
Which has as its purpose to wipe out the Jews in Israel, wipe out its neighbors, and build...
Yeah, but so does the evangelical base in the country. I mean, they need all the Jews to go back to Israel so they can... and Armageddon.
Build ICBMs with nuclear warheads that can reach our cities.
Oh, you mean like Kim Jong-un did during the Trump administration while Trump was giving him a rusty trombone?
Insanity. We have an insane administration.
Or perhaps sanity looks crazy to crazy man.
That is pushing these radical Marxist agenda movements.
Yeah. Especially this stock market stuff.
You can see he has more hate for the Republican Party than he does for the regime in Cuba.
Well, why is he negotiating with the regime in Cuba and saying, I trust them to do the right thing? Because that's what he's been saying about the Republican Party.
What's...
Keep trying. No, Mark, this is good stuff. Dig, man. Dig deep.
the motivation? I'll tell you the motivation.
Tell us the motivation, Mark.
Decade after decade of indoctrination on these college campuses.
That's right. It was Biden hanging out on college campuses everywhere, being taught Marxism by Richard Wolff.
These front think tanks some of them are funded by the Chinese, but some of them are just leftists.
Yeah, they don't need even the Chinese. They turned down the Chinese funding because how can you be a communist if you're taking funding at all? They just have drum circles.
They're having the run of the place. They're having the run of the administration.
Mark would know. He's got the runs right now.
They are secreting themselves into the
he's secreting
departments
right
and into the...
They're secreting themselves into the departments. What the fuck are you nodding at, Maria? Yeah.
Various offices too. You know what my attitude is?
Yeah, back up. You know what? Back up and try again. You lost everybody on the whole Biden was indoctrinated on college campuses.
Maria, I know we're near the end.
Yes, you are definitely near the end, Mark.
I don't care why.
I don't care why. My premise is dead in the water anyways. Why am I looking for a motivation factor on something that I just made up? I forgot. Maria, you have to clear these questions with my people first.
They need to be defeated.
Okay.
They need to be crushed, or we're going to lose this country.
Well, I mean, you might have thought about that last year when you were running the worst asshole you could possibly run for president.
Yeah, but he keeps spewing out lies about these voting bills. Real quick.
Yeah.
20 seconds. What is he talking about?
What is he talking about?
That he's got this constitutional right, and it's Jim Crow. 16 states have come up with new laws for a reason.
Yeah, the reason is because Trump has told all of his voters that you can't trust elections, so they're doing this as a PR scheme to bring them back on board. Yeah, don't worry about the voter fraud thing. Yeah, we couldn't put Trump back in. That's a bunch of Lego mumbo jumbo. You probably wouldn't understand. But we passed a bunch of no illegals are going to vote this time, we promise bills. So just come on back.
And there's a reason he's not specific, and the media aren't specific, because none of these proposals are Jim Crow.
Well, not specific. It's a modern day Jim Crow. It's an analogy. Like your head isn't an ostrich egg with fur on it. It's an analogy.
And yet, Joe Biden would know about Jim Crow since early in his Senate career he was buddies with segregationists and separatists in this country. So he'll
Which is weird because that was a long time ago, but you're friends with segregationists and separatists now.
go one way if he has to, or the other way if he has to.
So he's flexible, and you can't pin him down on what he believes, and so that was a flailing segment. Thanks, Maria. Christ. By the way, Don Jr. Was where Matt Gaetz wanted to be this week, desperately. Turning Points USA talking to conservative youth. But apparently, Matt Gaetz can't be within 500 yards of the place, so Don Jr. had to step in and show everybody what it takes to. It's kind of like a TED talk, a brain dead talk. Like he's teaching all these young kids who are just in their first year of college what it takes to grow a beard that actually makes your chin smaller.
Media, right? Joe Biden.
Right.
Gives Putin a pipeline.
No, he has the pipeline himself. He didn't give it to him. It's a deal with the Germans. They need the energy. But let me guess, we're defending them against Russia. By the way, now that pipeline is in existence and we know that they're relying on that monetary source, we now have another sanctions leverage, which is why a lot of people are for it going through.
Remember, you guys can't have that pipeline in America.
We have lots of pipelines in America. We just don't want any Canadian ones.
You can't have the jobs, you can't have the security, you can't have the decrease in energy pricing by having...
Why would we have a decrease in energy pricing? Because Canadian shale oil gets to market across American territory. And if they poison our aquifers, do you think they're going to clean them up?
Cheaper transport of energy? You can't have it. Russia can have it, sure.
Well, it's not. They can't have one running across the United States. Tell you what, asshole. Nord Stream, Keystone XL, fuck them both if they go through the middle of the country.
That's not...
It just seems like I care more about the flyover states than you do.
Not Russian collusion. I promise you. The millions that Hunter got from the Russian oligarch, remember the...
No, Rosemont Seneca got that from the wife of the mayor, and she turned him in. He was the most corrupt guy, according to Rudy Giuliani, and she became rich because they helped her invest her money. They didn't get millions. They didn't get to keep that. Do you have any idea how investing works? I honest to God, you guys know the story anyways, like $3 million to Rosemont Seneca from the mayor of Moscow's wife, and that money wasn't them to keep. They invested it for her, and then they keep a percentage of the profits. In some, at most 100,000 or a couple 100,000, and depending on if they made, they took the 3 and made 12, they're obviously going to make $750,000 off that. If she keeps rolling it, then they eventually make 20 or 25 or 30. Now she's the richest woman in Moscow now, so she very well may have that was actually a smart move on her part. But that's because they gave her investment advice and she followed it and her investments paid off. That might be the confusion point for Don Jr. because none of his dad's investments have ever paid off, and none of the people who've invested in his family have ever seen their money again.
Remember the ones tied to human trafficking and child trafficking and prostitution rings in Eastern Europe? Remember those things that if Don Jr. did it, it would be a real problem. If Hunter Biden does it, it's called Tuesday.
Yeah, we don't know what he's talking about. We'll have to find out. I'm sure there's a rumble about it somewhere.
Those things?
Tuesday.
Media? No, it's wonderful. We should do that. Joe Biden will get up. No, the EU is the backbone of NATO. I go, that's not true. We're the backbone of NATO. We spend 70% of the NATO budget. You guys get to pay for that. And you know what?
Yeah, but their forces are the ones that carry it out. We provide the financial support so we don't have to have troops if that shit goes down. Basically, we're protecting a bulwark. The reason we put that much money in is because we're actually paying for the missile part. We're the ones that want shit. We want stuff where NATO territory is, in case the Russians decide to fire some shit on us or our allies. We pay for the big expensive stuff. They have the guns and the guys, and we have the missile defense systems, which are, not surprising, a lot more expensive. But for our national security, if you've ever played Risk, that's why we want those there.
You know what that money goes for?
Yes.
It goes to protect Europe from Russia.
No, it protects us from Russia, and it's way more expensive to put the shit that protects us from Russia there. And if we told Russia that, like, if Russia knew we were spending that money ourselves on those places, they would know we were planting missile defense things for our own security there, but we pretend we're just supporting NATO forces and saying we're buying them blankets and MP5s. You getting the feeling that Don Jr. actually thinks that the Pentagon pays $500 for a hammer and $900 for a toilet seat? Do you think he really thinks that's how much that shit costs? And that's not just a wink and a nod way of spending money and putting it on the books so that the Russians don't know what the fuck we're buying and where?
Who they are enriching with a pipeline that we allowed to happen.
Well, no, we actually have a choke point for their economy now. It's harder to stop ships, blockades, and kind of stuff like that. But if they start pumping all their oil through that pipeline, we can turn it off with a fucking, like, 2 dudes. There's a strategic reason to allow the pipeline if you have the ability to think past the end of your fucking nose and see past the white powder on the end of it, I suppose.
And then they get really patronizing, right?
Patronizing?
You, us, me, you know.
Yeah, you, us, me. I like that. It's the sequel to Me, Myself, and Irene.
Everyone that they consider not one of theirs, you know, the peasants. That's how they think of us. But you should be grateful because you saved 16 cents on your barbecue on 4th of...
What the fuck was that? Like, we've heard this stupid talking point, a bunch of this. Do we know? I have to look this one up. This one has gone by, like, let's see. Saved 16 cents on barbecue. The fuck is he talking about? Jen Psaki gets... it's the flippin' answer. Gets flippin' answer to grilled on tone-deaf White House. If you don't like hot dogs, you may not care. Flippin' answer when grilled on tone-deaf... about 16 cents saving on barbecue amid highest inflation for 13 years. White House came... Okay, so this is from a tweet from Jen Psaki. So this is what he's going about. If you don't like hot dogs, you may not care. Jen Psaki, move over. I don't care. Get out of the way. You're an ad and you're in the way. Stop seeing this ad. I don't want to see it. It's inappropriate, right? Let's see. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki tried to defend a White House tweet on Friday that boasted how President Biden's economic policies would be saving America 16 cents on traditional items for 14th barbecue. Planning cookout this year? Catch up on the news. According to Farm Bureau, the cost of 4th of July barbecue is down from last year. It's a fact you must have heard. Hot dog, Biden administration planning orders, something to relish. The tweet was accompanied by a GIF. Let's see. Cost of 4th of July cookout from 2021 is down 16 cents from last year. I see. So this is the part that he's referencing. So lumber, we're ignoring lumber because all these food items are actually down 16. China is ramping up their threatening rhetoric. Gas prices are through the roof, and Psaki is talking about hot dog prices. I'm sorry. Are we supposed to shake in our boots every time a country ramps up their threatening rhetoric? Especially considering that most of the time, when a country ramps up their threatening rhetoric, it's because they're on their heels about something, and they're not boasting for us. They're boasting so their people don't recognize that they're in deep shit. Ducey, does the White House think 16 cents off a barbecue has more of an impact on people's lives than gas being $1 more? I would say if you don't like hot dogs, you might not care about the reduction of cost. They're talking about food. Okay, here we go. White House claims 4th of July cost. Let's see. Pork and beans is $1. Okay, so there's a bunch of these things. This is the overall on it. Down 5%. So they're talking about a percentage on a bunch of these things. 13% down from last year. Ground beef is down 8% from last year. Half a gallon ice cream is down 5% from last year. This is the kind of videos to put. Official White House count tweeted the cost of 4th of July cookout is down 16 cents from last year. That's because they added beer and that's stayed stable. AAA report the national average for a price of a regular gallon has risen to $3.12, highest been since Independence Day, because people were driving again. Okay, so that's what the 16 cents part is about, because food's down like 5, 8, and 12% from last year. And then if you mix in alcohol, which has stayed the same, it screws the average. So 16 cents is what he's been bitching about.
4th of July.
Ground beef was down 8%. White House, I would have said the price of ground beef, if you like barbecuing, the price of ground beef is down 8% this year so far. Right? I mean, that would have done it. Does anybody want to check in with me when you have those issues in the future? Just run that shit by me. I can really help you out. I'm no Mad Men character, but I got a thing for that kind of stuff. All right, here we go.
I go.
Guys.
Let's play this out a little further. That's a wonderful savings. Wonderful. Because you can't say that it's BS, because then they fact check you and you're thrown off.
Right. But the problem you have is that you're saying everything is up, and the overall cost of all the items that you would want for a barbecue is actually down. Sure, it's down 16 cents, but it's hardly an argument for inflation, dickhead.
But I'll say, the only problem with it is, if you have to get in your car to go get said barbecue, and you drive about 12 feet, savings is gone. Right? Savings is gone. We know it's nonsense. You've seen the inflation. You've seen the price of lumber. You've seen the price.
By the way, just for the record, the inflation talking point is a big one. It gets all over. CNN covers this one a lot. They like it. Let's see. The real story is not inflation. And I know those at CNN might disagree with me. I certainly know that the Republicans will disagree with this idea because they don't think their own people understand the economic impacts of COVID, supply chain issues, and what's effectively a rubber band effect from supply chains. They've been held back, tightened. Once they open up again, it'll be a flood of goods on the market, and it will cause deflation, which is a much bigger concern. This is from the financial, what's this one? Who put this out? The FP Insider. This is, hold on, let me go back here. Because that's the big fear. Who will thrive in the coming deflation? Treasury and risk. They've been talking about this since last year. Who will thrive in the coming deflation? History suggests deflation is unavoidable in the near term, regardless of central banks' attempts to forestall it. Some companies will falter, but others are in position to survive, even thrive. This is the stuff that's popping back. So over the next year, that basically got put on pause because of COVID. Let's see. I'll put in the news one. Find the... Yeah, this is a good one because lumber's the big one that they like to pull out as an example. Lumber erases all 2021 gains. Here's why deflation is the risk to watch, says Bloomberg Intelligence. This is July 13th, right here. Lumber was one of the best performing commodities this year, with many pointing to the price rally as a sign of accelerating inflation. But lumber's recent dramatic drop, which erased all the year-to-date gains, could be a sign that deflation is the risk investors need to watch, according to Bloomberg Intelligence. Lumber may indicate deflation is a greater risk, said Bloomberg Intelligence senior commodity strategist Mike McGlone. Looked more than 2 decades worth of timber and consumer price history, noting that analysis points to lumber futures going even lower. The only way you can stabilize the coming deflation in lumber prices is a massive housing boom. You have to start building like a crazy son of a bitch. What's the cure for high commodity prices? Lumber may know. The old adage that commodity prices have limited upside due to a primary factor, supply elasticity, may be more relevant than ever. Oh, it opened up his whole thing. Back up. Maybe more relevant than ever, we believe. Price peaks from 1H in lumber, inflation, copper, corn, soybeans. Lumber is now back to trading flat on the year after rising more than 120% since the start of 2021 when it hit record highs in May. At the time of writing, lumber for September delivery was down 6.1% on the day and trading at 669 per thousand board feet. The normal is like 711, 720 something. Free market capitalism and the rules of supply and demand may be gaining relevance and rapidly advancing technology for most commodities. The old adage that commodity prices have limited upside due to primary factor supply elasticity may be more relevant than ever. The initial demand shock from the pandemic-related shift away from living in cities could be more transitory than the supply elasticity of lumber. The former Trump administration trade restrictions and an enduring period of moribund prices resulted in a near-perfect storm for a pop in lumber. Demand versus supply economics should prevail, though, pressuring levels back towards longer-term trends as evidenced by the tame price and ample supply of timber. And again, pressuring levels back towards longer-term trends. The longer-term trends I was talking about are all those news reports from last year that deflation is on the horizon. In short, what I'm trying to tell you is that Don Jr. is a stupid son of a bitch who probably can't read. Just saying. Because God damn, he's dumb.
The price of energy, you've seen the price of housing, you've seen the price across commodities. Like we haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah, because you've seen a pop, because we went from a stagnant economy here and abroad, supply chains being choked to near nothing, but none of it is based on lack of demand or lack of supply. It's the supply chain that was fucked. Once you fix the supply chain, what you're going to have is a glut of shit hitting the market at the same time, causing deflation. And if you have any brains at all, and I guarantee, as dumb as Don Jr. is, his accountant or his investment advisor or whoever that he's got working on his shit is hedging all of this stuff. They're all hedging on the concept of deflation.
You know what that
By the way, that's why the room is crickets. Because all these kids are on their fucking phones, and they all know this.
is, folks? That's a tax on the American middle class. Okay?
Well, then they're getting a huge fucking tax break when it all hits the shit right before Christmas.
Guess what, guys?
Guys.
I'm the son of a billionaire.
And you're not. If. It's a big fucking if.
And it pisses me
Yeah. And I'm a Chinese jet pilot.
off to fill up my truck.
Hold on. What?
Son of a billionaire.
No. Back up. What the fuck?
Guess what, guys? I'm the son of a billionaire.
Mm-hmm.
And it pisses me off to fill up my truck.
Uh-huh. Then you're probably not the son of a billionaire? Or you're an entitled prick? Or that explains why you're doing cameos for Booger Sugar? Because if you're the son of a billionaire and gassing up your car ever bothers you, I call bullshit.
It's hurting a lot of people. If I'm sitting there being like, man, think of what it's doing to hardworking Americans who are working hard.
Yeah, unlike you, who isn't and ain't.
To feed their families. They're taxing the hell out of them already, and that's before they implement the other garbage that they want to throw at you.
Yeah, what's the other garbage? The whole garbage about if your bags get lost, you get your money for the fee back, or if you pay for Wi-Fi on a plane, it gets refunded to you if it doesn't work. You know, like the saying goes, Steph's saying, like the saying goes, if you have to ask the price, you can't afford it. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Putin in the pipeline. Remember this, the media? The media, to prove how competent Joe Biden is, to prove how non-dementia riddled he is, the media took a quote from Vladimir Putin. They go, no. Look, Vladimir Putin, after talking with Joe Biden, says he's very sharp.
Yeah. Normally the dude does nothing but like fillet your dad. But that wasn't a sign that shows us that Biden is sharp. It just shows us that Putin has moved on from your dad and recognizes he has to deal with the United States because there's a new sheriff in town. You don't actually think we need Vladimir Putin to tell us that Biden doesn't have dementia and or that Trump didn't or doesn't. You don't actually think we need that, do you? No, that's indicative of Putin's behavior in terms of whether or not he respects what he's up against in terms of the United States.
Really? Like Vlad's really sharp. Joe's really
You might want to.
sharp. Vlad said so. Look, that's the example. I mean, they are using Putin, who is laughing his ass off at us, who's taking us to school on a global basis. You think Vladimir Putin is happy that he's negotiating against Joe Biden versus Trump?
Well, no, because he doesn't have any compromise on Biden.
He's thrilled. He'll say whatever he wants because he's getting what he wants, right?
What's he getting?
It
Oh, the pipeline, right?
wasn't just an
That we can turn off with a sanction. It's a guy. I mean, the pipeline has a briar patch aspect to it. I'm just saying.
oil pipeline, right? What was the next thing that happened? They canceled an aid package to the Ukraine, right?
No. No, that was before, and it was a false story.
I don't know, guys. Like, I'm old enough to remember, like, 8 months ago when that was grounds for impeachment.
Yeah, but it was first it didn't happen, but the concept is that it was based on the actual desires of Congress and the administration, just like getting rid of the prosecutor. Whereas your dad, it wasn't denying. By the way, denying Ukraine in the case of a like loan guarantees or military support is not in and of itself an impeachable offense. It's why you do it. If you do it because it is the policy of the United States and it carries out a strategy that we have with our allies, for example, that's completely fine. If you do it because you know your dad is a fucking loser and he's screwing the pooch during the election and he has a panic attack and says, I've got to get some dirt on Joe Biden or I'm going to lose this thing, I'll make a phone call and then Rudy can fly over there and talk this guy into drumming up a Comey moment for me, then that would be an issue.
Right?
No. Wrong.
Are we seeing a pattern here, folks?
Yes, we see a pattern. You have a difficulty perceiving reality. And thanks very much.
That's the hypocrisy. And the arbiters of truth want nothing to do with the truth. They are there to fulfill the narrative.
Thanks for subscribing. Don't forget, like and subscribe, follow, and all that kind of stuff. And by the way, that's it? That's the whole chunk? That clip was called, by the way, this is from Don Jr.'s, oh, ouch. Tell me that's a fake account. This can't be his official account. 493 subscribers, Donald Trump Jr.? That's got to be rough. 100 views? That's the whole thing? And this one's called Don Jr. Goes Off on the Biden Disaster. No, it kind of just says the same shit he's been saying on a bunch of other stuff. I'm just saying. But don't fret. We got a little bit of time left. And let's see. Where do we go here? Oh. You might think that, with people like Don Jr. basically kissing Putin's ass and calling him a strong man and saying he's outsmarting the president and that America's weak and broken and it'll never survive and yada yada, and without your dad, America is nothing. That might sound un-American to you, but no. Diamond and Silk want to tell you and everybody else that Trump supporters are pro-America. Yeah. Diamond and Silk on Crystal Clear. That's the show on Newsmax that they're on. I guess is that what their show is called? I don't know. They have a podcast and they have they're on shows and then they do this and they're always in the same spot. Now even with my moving shit, I've shown up in other locations, but this is a green screen. I could be anywhere. They're always right next to the dining room. It's very confusing. The whole thing, very confused. All right, so Diamond and Silk want to tell us that Trump supporters are pro-America. Regular rhinos? Pfft, fuck those guys. Let's go. Let's see. Come on, Diamond and Silk. Let's do this.
Looking at, I like to look at Twitter and I like to look at all.
Hold on. Wait.
I've been looking at, I like to look at Twitter and I like to
Yeah, who doesn't?
look at all of these other social media platforms. And I'm looking at the left-leaning liberals.
Yeah, the left-leaning liberals, as opposed to the right-leaning liberals. Yeah, there's a different group. The left versus Trump supporters. Okay, here we go.
And how they are referring to Trump supporters as anti-government extremists.
Yeah, not all of them, obviously. Just the ones that still support him.
But what I need to inform the left about is that, no, Trump supporters are not anti-government.
Right.
We
No.
like limited government, but we are pro-America.
But one second. I just got a notification on my watch. Thank you, CSL. Thank you, Suzanne, for... Oh, I appreciate it. Love you, bro. Here's the new iPad. Oh, thank you. Yes, helping us replace that thing. Christ, that thing's been limping. On the Venmo, by the way, I know my head's in the way, but the Venmo thing is there. When I'm by my... Where is it? There you go. I can point. I know what direction it is. If you use your phone on that little guy, especially when I'm on this screen, it's right there. If you take a little picture of that with your phone, you can donate to the show using Venmo. It's a great way to do it. And YouTube and Twitch don't take a cut of that. That just exists. So thank you for that, Suzanne. I appreciate it. And I'm glad I saw it. So bless you. Here we go. So back to the left versus Trump supporters. Yes, you are anti-government extremists. You want the U.S. government, the government of the United States of America, the country to which you pledge allegiance to the flag, and for what it's worth, to whomever, under God, as much as you give a shit until you're mad. I forget what we got to come up with a Trump Pledge of Allegiance. It's totally different than what the rest of us do. But you want, it's very important that you want the U.S. government to be small enough that Putin can drown it in a bathtub. Got it. That a Venezuelan dictator can choke it in its sleep.
American.
That's right.
We like life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah, we can do that anywhere. We can do that in a raft in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Fuck that.
And we believe in the Constitution.
Yeah, the Constitution. By the way, that's what they call it when you sign up at Costco now. It's the Constitution. You sign a little document that says you're not going to pretend to be a business when you're a person or pretend to be a person when you're a business.
Right. Now, the Biden regime took an oath to up.
Regime. It's a French word. Anyways.
Hold the Constitution.
Right.
But it is being alleged that they are now planning to release a list of conservative social media influencers that followed.
It's being alleged? Okay, well, let me know when they do.
That were followed by the January 6th defendants that questioned the integrity of the 2020 election. And this list also includes members of Congress. Well, if this is true, somebody need to go tell Jim Crow Joe Biden he's overstepping his boundaries.
He's overstepping his boundaries. So, so RICO laws are un-American, according to Diamond and Silk.
That's right. Because he don't get to bully people into silence by weaponizing the government and his regime against we, the American people.
That's pure intimidation.
That's what it is.
It's totally intimidation. Like it's so funny when cops will often intimidate a bank robber, for example, and I just think that's rude. Somebody comes. You know when a guy's got somebody hostage and he's holding a gun to their head and the cops are yelling expletives in an attempt to intimidate these government agents in their black and white cars with the lights on top, intimidating that poor hostage taker. And then they arrest the guy and they go look at his who he was in contact with because a couple people escaped. You get his phone and they intimidate the driver.
this. And he needs to understand this is the United States of America.
That's right.
We don't need for him to get it twisted.
That's right.
Yeah, you don't get it twisted. I mean, it looks like they're in a hotel in Greece, but sure.
Had to, just in case I don't ever talk about it again, get it off my
You probably won't.
chest.
Okay.
But let me get something else off my chest.
Let's go.
Kamala Harris, she got problems, y'all.
Uh-huh.
If y'all don't believe me, take a look at this.
There are a whole lot of people, especially people who live in rural communities, who don't, there's no Kinko's, there's no Office Max near them. People have to understand that when we're talking about voter ID laws, be clear about who you have in mind and what would be required of them to prove who they are. Of course, people have to prove who they are, but not in a way that makes it almost impossible for them to prove who they are.
Right.
You know, so
we've covered that clip when other people have done it, and it's making the rounds. That's the current anti-Kamala clip that's been going around. Please tell us from the piece of paper that the folks at the Heritage Foundation faxed you how she thinks rednecks don't know how a photocopy machine. Just, you know what? Just do your best, Dan Bongino.
So did you know one who is deficient in judgment, sense, or understanding is what you call a fool?
Oh.
Sure. I mean, there's a lot more categories than someone who's just deficient in judgment. I mean, honestly, I expect a hat with bells.
Woo. Well, Kamala Harris is a fool.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that
Yeah, please tell us. Please explain.
is that, you know,
Sorry, Harris, it's hard for people to photocopy an ID. Not exactly a quote, and there's no quotes on it. So this is what we all heard what Kamala Harris said and the concerns that she has about making it difficult for people and, of course, costing them money, these mini poll taxes that they're kind of stacking on people. But what we're reading right here is not what Newsmax thinks or whatever. This is what Diamond and Silk heard when Kamala Harris spoke. So this is through a dumb shit filter, in case you don't know how to... In case there's not an Office Max with a dumb shit filter near you.
every citizen in a rural area, most of them have cell phones.
That's right.
Most of them. But that, a cell phone, I think you would agree, is an optional item that's a privilege, not a right. No one has a right to a cell phone. If you want to, do they have Obama phones?
Right.
So they can make
Hype train! Thanks everybody in Twitch, by the way, for that.
a copy of anything
Yeah.
using your cell phone.
Using your cell phone.
Right. What are you going to do with that copy when you do it? If you don't have a printer?
Here's my theory. Instead
Okay, here's our theory.
of going door to door to give out vaccines, Kamala Harris and them need to be going door to door to give out copy of machines.
Yeah, that's that's cost efficient. Sure. So they moved from Obama phones. Now we have Biden copiers.
She don't think that these people have a way to make copies of their credentials.
Well, notice how the narrative have switched
Yeah, we keep
from not being able to get an ID to now not being able to photocopy your ID.
See,
well, that's because it's mail-in voting versus in-person voting. So if you go in person, use a photo ID. If they need to include a copy with it, there would be a copier there. The election official helping you would take a photocopy of your ID, attach it to your ballot, and then you would go and do that. Or you would scan it on the actual device, and it would be included with that. Obviously violates your privacy as a voter, but whatever. But this would be for mail-in votes, and if it's required for a mail-in vote, then you either have to own a copier or scanner, you have to own a cell phone that can take a good enough picture and then print that out. So you have to have a printer that works. You have to have toner and all that kind of stuff. Or you have to be able to go to an Office Max or have someone take you. And then there are laws about who can take you. If it's for the purpose of helping you vote, they could be violating some of these other laws. That's the issue. It's a poll tax. But what would you ladies know about the concept of poll tax?
see, it's always something, isn't it?
And when you
It is. It's always something. that Republicans are trying to do to stop people from voting.
Think about Kamala Harris. It may be hard for her to find a photocopy.
Why?
Just like it's hard for her to find the southern border.
Oh, okay. That's
You know what I'm saying?
I told
She
you.
Well, she went to the southern border.
having that issue.
She
okay?
has.
No, she's been there.
Okay.
And she got to understand Kinko's have been closed for a year.
That's right.
Oh, this is the whole, like, they don't call them Kinko's anymore. They call them FedEx office. But it's a good point. Stick to it. I think this really sells it. That nobody calls it Kinko's anymore, even though everybody calls it Kinko's.
So she's out of touch.
Yeah, she is totally out of touch. I don't know why the vice president doesn't stop using the vernacular Kinko's for any place you can make copies.
Brought out Kinko in 2004. Okay, so technically it
Yes, and they were FedEx Kinko's for another 8 years.
would be hard for anybody to find a Kinko's, but for my people.
She also said an Office Max, I think, right? So that's not gonna Staples.
Of color. Just
Yes.
let me say this.
Come on,
here.
say it, girl.
You know, she's basically saying you're incapable
Yes.
and not knowledgeable about getting a copy of your ID.
No, she's saying that basically it shouldn't be your responsibility to have to pay for anything extra to vote.
But here's the kicker.
Come on.
Here's the kicker. Let's go.
At least you have an ID.
That's right. That's right. Now, listen to me, you all.
Yeah.
There's a difference between being ignorant and a fool.
That's true. Do you guys pick one each day for the thing? You're like, today I'll be ignorant, you be the fool, and then we'll flip tomorrow? How do you choose? Whoever wears the red dress?
Ignorant is just like you just unlearned.
Unlearned.
So this lady don't have any type of understanding. I'm sorry, you all. Kamala Harris is a fool.
No connect.
Well, no, it's out of touch would be a form of ignorance. If you're going to make the case you made before. I mean, unless you're saying that fools are caring individuals, they may be misguided, but they're trying to help. But then you got me, because neither one of you would be a fool then. Good for you.
Connection with the people.
That's right.
At all.
Yes. Okay, so let's move the story on. You know,
Yeah, move the story on.
the Cubans are protesting for freedom.
Yes.
And they are tired of being under this communist regime.
Yes.
Did
Yes, the Rugine.
you know, Silk, that they only give them 5 eggs a month? 5 and
5 eggs a month.
$15 a month to live off of.
Yes, communism and socialism suck. There, you heard me say it. That's I kill right-wing talking points. It's what I do.
Listen, we wouldn't be able to live through that.
No.
No, of course. That's half an omelet for you.
Because by the time we eat 4 eggs in the morning.
That's right.
Is it 2 apiece, or would you fight over the 5th
2
one?
for you and 2 for me.
Right.
So we would be able
What?
we eat 4 eggs in the morning.
That's right.
2 for you and 2 for me.
Right.
Right, so you'd have 1 egg left over, and then you'd eat something else for breakfast, or like bagels or something like that, I guess.
So we wouldn't be able to live under this here regime.
No, I don't think you would.
But Biden is claiming to help them. But did you know the Biden administration said that he would jail anybody that comes over here from Cuba?
What? They're gonna jail? Well, gosh, how many eggs do you get in jail? Shit, that sounds like a good deal. Or perhaps people will be returned to their home country like the majority of people who try to get in the country illegally.
It's been alleged that he will jail them.
Yeah, but your average prisoner gets a couple eggs a day. I'm just saying, it sounds like an upgrade temporarily.
Wow.
Okay, but
Wow.
you are okay with
I'm just saying, both of you would have done just fine in prison. You know. I mean, I could probably teach you how to sharpen a toothbrush. I could give you a couple of lessons,
our
but
southern border being
wide open.
it's wide open. Yeah, that wall sucks. See, you guys thought Diamond and Silk and I couldn't agree on anything. But the one thing, this is a bonding moment. Diamond and Silk and I agree that the wall ain't shit. That Trump spent all this money building almost 500 miles of wall, right? And it doesn't fucking work. It's a porous mess that anybody can get over. Thank you, Diamond and Silk, for finally calling out the stupid idea of the wall. It just sucks. It didn't work at all. It's terrible. It was a bad design, bad idea. It was poorly implemented and cheaply constructed, and it's not even painted.
These people are experiencing this communist regime that only give them
Regime? How many ways do you have of pronouncing that word?
5
Regime?
eggs a month to live off of.
5 eggs. That's it. No other food. Just 5 eggs. I'm just gonna. I'm not defending the communist regime. It sucks. Fuck the Castros. Fuck communism. You heard me say it. But I think there's the 5 eggs they get a month is per family member, and then they use them to bake and other shit. Okay.
And $15, and you want to tell me that
Wait, 5 eggs and $15? You didn't say that. That sounds like, I don't know.
they can't seek asylum here in the United States? That lets me know. See, this is what the Biden regime, in my humble opinion, is trying to do. You trying to usher us into this communism foolishness. Look at the.
Wait, are we sending Diamond and Silk to Cuba? Is that the plan now? I did not get my Biden memo today. I should have checked. The Biden administration usually DMs me. Well, not directly. They do it through a Soros account, but and to tell me what, of course, my talking points are, which I've really been astray from those for a while. Fuck communism was not in there, I gotta say. Not from the Soros talking points anyway. I can never tell. I mean, the Biden-Soros talking points, they all intertwine. But does anybody in the chat room know? You guys know, right? Are we shipping them straight to Cuba, or are we just pushing them off and hoping they get there? We'll give them each 5 eggs. We'll give them each 4 eggs and...
Look at how food prices are going up. Pretty soon, we won't be able to buy eggs.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime you as the government, okay, to play doctor, and you want
to... excuse me? I give a lot of leeway to the government, but if they want to play doctor,
drop your shorts and bend over, Mr. Babar.
I get a little nervous.
Moon River.
So, just
want to force an experimental vaccine on the American people.
Come on.
Well, nobody's forcing it on you. You're being coaxed. You can argue that it's being emotionally coercive at max, but no one is holding you down. Honest to God, genuinely speaking, if the government wanted to give these 2 ladies a shot, they'd have it by now. There's no way they're having an armed David Koresh-style standoff in that fucking apartment. They wouldn't even make it out of the lobby of their fucking building.
Without even knowing their medical history.
Yes.
What?
Come on.
Without even knowing.
Wait, I don't even know what this I don't know what this talking point even is.
As the government, okay, to play doctor. And you want to force an experimental vaccine on the American.
You couldn't help my joke by saying experimental injection. Come on, I mean, you were teeing me up for so many good jokes.
American people,
come on,
without
on the American people, come on,
even knowing their medical history.
Yes,
what?
There's a problem here. This is just like Cuba.
What do you mean without knowing your medical? The government's not supposed to know your medical history, dumb shit. Let me get this straight. The 2 of you are arguing that the government, these small government ladies, are suggesting that the government needs to keep records on all the citizens so that it can know the potential side effects of things that it might suggest that they take. There you have it. Yes, Diamond and Silk want the government to maintain medical records on every American citizen. Lunacy, big government nonsense. fuck you, commies, and your ridiculous socialist plan to take over our healthcare.
Come on. So Biden can't help Cuba.
No.
Because he's trying to change the United States into Cuba.
That's right. And those people are running here.
Well, I mean, obviously, we'd all be on ice cream rations. That would never work.
To the United States because they have a place to run.
Right.
But if we don't stand up,
Come on.
where are we going to run?
Where?
Well, yeah, we're not going to run to Cuba.
And I want to know, why is the Biden regime being racist towards the Cuban people?
Well, they're not, because there's black people in Cuba. There's Spanish descendants and Puerto Rican descendants and others in Cuba. The Cubans are not our specific race. I mean, Cubans are a large group down there, but there's a variety of them. It's more of a political problem. See, the Biden administration has a problem with communism and does not trust the regime to send rafts over of alleged refugees and not have Cuban spies and other people that are actually working for the regime among them. So it's just saying, everybody stay over there and we'll work out, make sure the government's giving you enough stuff.
You got our southern border wide open.
Well, no, obviously it's not Biden that has it wide open. It's the shitty wall. We were so close.
If anybody deserves to be here for freedom, it's the people of Cuba.
Well, let them in. I mean, this is a turning point. Yeah. Come on, Cubans. Get in this country. I'm for it.
They only eating 5 eggs a month.
Yeah, they're used to it. They're not even gonna, one Cuban would eat half of a diamond and silk omelet a month.
How you gonna live off $15 a month?
Well, it's a communist regime, so they give you a good portion of your supplies. The $15 is probably just for ancillary stuff, cigarettes and alcohol and other things that the state doesn't provide. They provide you with they don't actually do it, but the $15 a month is for the extra shit, so that you can walk around amongst the tourists in the state-owned hotels and not look like the dregs of humanity. So they let you buy a new shirt every month and shit like that. Like a $3 shirt and a cigar and some shit. You can walk around pretending everything's okay. That's the $15 is for. Just.
What kind of foolishness is this?
It's foolishness. It is rampant foolishness.
Girl, you know what? But the whole world has got to stand up against these countries that have their feet on people's necks. People are tired, Silk.
That's right.
Of this.
They are. They're exhausted.
It's people.
Yeah, especially Pakistan and the Congo and Haiti and Venezuela, most of South America, Guatemala. They're all tired of Cuba's bullshit. Iran, sick of it.
People want to be free.
Right. So boots on the ground, we should attack Cuba. Okay, cool. So we got out of Afghanistan just in time for Diamond and Silk to suggest that we attack Cuba.
And for God's sake, they want to be able to eat and take care of their families.
Yeah, and you can't do that with $15 and 5 eggs.
Actually, more than 5 eggs.
I know that.
Yeah.
That's right.
You just watched Newsmax.
Yeah, and I've lost time I will never get back. Thanks. Shit. All right, I'm over time. Thanks, guys, for starting late with me today. By the way, I was driving back today, so I started an hour late. I appreciate you guys jumping in here with me. Thanks for the good time. Thank you for the super chats, and thank you again, Suzanne, for the Venmo. Appreciate that very, very much. Thank you guys for your support. Thanks to our new patrons. We've got I think 719 now. Hopefully that remains steady as a number. If you're on Twitch, please remember to resubscribe if you've either unsubscribed or your subscriptions run out. If you have Amazon Prime, it doesn't cost you anything. Just ask her; she knows. They run on the okay. And then just any other way you can help. And if you can't afford to help because things are tight and you're worried about inflation/deflation, and you're Don Jr., you're sitting there, you have to every day you pretend to be a billionaire's son, and yet you're doing cameos for Coke money, which is like, on the internet scale, that's less than zero territory, if you know what I'm saying. Then I understand you don't have 2 nickels to rub together, so, hang out. enjoy our company, my company, the rest of the chat, make some friends. That's a gift in and of itself. I appreciate you being here. I really do. So take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. And I will be back tomorrow. And by the way, tomorrow's show might be here, might be back in LA because it's craziness. I'm like a yo-yo right now between LA and here. But I will keep you guys posted, and I will see you tomorrow at our regular time. Much love. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. And remember, this is all too serious to take seriously. Okay? Every issue we cover that crosses the economy, LGBTQ rights, like lumber prices, inflation, deflation, the climate, all that stuff I take very seriously. And therefore, I refuse to take these assholes seriously when they talk about it. I won't do it. It's too important to actually pretend that these assholes matter. So I will mock them incessantly because I take these things seriously, and I show it by not taking them seriously. Just to clarify, in case anybody's confused. And by the way, again, thanks to the trolls for showing up. You expand our reach. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Every time I look at my insights on my channel, I'm like, thank God for trolls. Otherwise, I'd be yelling, making fart jokes at the choir every week. So. All right, take care. Bye, everybody.